Thank you. I appreciate the compliment always. Anybody else have like dying lips and skin lately? It's been like super dry out, so welcome to winter time. Good question. Strength during a deficit. So if you don't follow me on YouTube, make sure you look up Strong Sweet Caroline. That's where I'm hosting these, and they will be saved for the future, so you can go check them out. Hi Bart, how are you today? But the questions we're going to be going over so far, I've gotten are my favorite hamstring growing movement exercises, improving mobility, how to recover your period after a competition prep, and can you grow strength during a deficit? So, I'll go ahead and get started with a little opener. This is what I've been doing for all of my lives, is kind of sitting into the intention of what I'm bringing to you all today and the energy I want to be streaming through to each of you. So whether you're at home or you're at the office or you're in your car commuting, I want you to take a moment, take a big deep breath in through your nose for 4 seconds. Hold that breath for 2 to 4 seconds, and then go ahead and breathe that breath back out. You can go ahead and repeat that for 3 to 4 rounds, and that's a really great way that if you're stressed or you need to reset and kind of re-evaluate your energy, breathing is a great way to do that. And wanted to set the intention today that I'm here to share value to all of you and help you with your progress in your endeavors, whether it's fitness, health, or just in becoming a better person in life. So I hope something that I say today can help resonate in one of those ways. So first and foremost, hamstrings. So I've been putting a lot of YouTube content. If you all haven't been paying much attention to my YouTube, I highly emphasize go checking it out. What I'm trying to do is build out some exercise indexes of top exercises I use for certain body parts, things I've learned from John Meadows since working with him, and unfortunately he's no longer with us to share his wealth of knowledge, so I'm trying to share some of that wisdom on a day-to-day basis and continue to help other people improve on their goals in health and fitness. And speaking of, I'm wearing the John Meadows Prep Mode shirt. So if you don't have it already, you can get this from Iron Rebel. They have it in this black, which I like. It's awesome. And then they have a gray version as well. You can go check that out at Iron Rebel, which was John's company. And essentially, John loved training legs. So that's something I've learned a lot about the past few years. And when it comes to hamstrings, posterior chain, depending on the person, most people are going to notice a certain part of their leg is going to take over in the big exercises. So, main compound lifts like deadlifts, squats, even doing something like a lunge, which is technically a squat variation, doing a deadlift variation, you're going to notice different parts of the leg are going to take over naturally. So that is where you can figure out, okay, where are your imbalances, what part of your body is stronger than another, how can you continue to improve your overall physique and strength by modifying that. So those of you on Instagram, go to my link tree in my profile. I'm going to be sharing the rest of it on YouTube. So when it comes to hamstrings, I've noticed a lot of correlation with actually leg press. You can get a lot of really good hamstring activation if you have your feet more of a narrow neutral stance. You can also do a variation when it comes to box squats to get more hamstrings. I really love lying leg curls in general. You can do single leg curls. Another underrated movement John was very fond of is the glute ham raise. You don't have to have the machine or apparatus to do it. You can do it strictly from the floor on a Bosu ball. You can prop your feet up with a barbell and use something in front of you to kind of guide your upper body so that it's all hamstring working. Those are phenomenal for your hamstrings. Now, other, I would say, accessory movements that build hamstrings can happen in lunges, Bulgarian split squats. I also really enjoy using the pitch shark if I'm trying to target hamstrings a little bit more. And even on hip thrusts, depending on your stance, if your feet are further out, a lot of times the hamstrings will want to take over. So that's something you can keep in mind as well, is how are you modifying certain movements, and is your body overcompensating certain areas? So on that note, it leads right into the next question, which was very broad. It was just on mobility and talking about how do you improve mobility. First and foremost, a lot of it is from form and technique. Do you have the correct form? If you're starting out doing squats with body weight, your form's going to be very different from when you put 200 pounds on your back. So I always, whenever I'm coaching someone or even myself, start with the fundamentals of form. When it comes to mobility, starting from the ground up has been very important for me, making sure that I'm having my feet in alignment, that I'm gripping my feet into the floor when I'm training, that my knees are tracking over my feet. Sometimes they will go in front of my ankle, yes. Sometimes they won't, just depends. That's a sign of different mobility. Are my hips pushing back? Or am I finding issues with my hips pushing all the way back and not being able to be flexible enough? Do I feel tightness in my lower back during a movement? Am I able to stretch my arms back, or do I get locked up during a chest exercise or shoulder press? Where am I feeling those impingements in my body, first and foremost? And a lot of times I start with form correction. Then you want to take it a step further and look at your recovery methods. Are you stretching for at least a little bit pre or post workout or during your workout? Are you using things like a lacrosse ball or bands, foam roller to loosen up some of that tightened muscle tissue? Maybe you go to a stretch zone or someplace that does massage tissue therapy. Maybe you take it another step further and you work with a deep tissue massage therapist who specializes in sports athletes. That's who I see. And it's incredibly painful, but incredibly amazing in the same sense. If you have some type of built up cartilage, that can cause issues with mobility too, depending on if you had a past injury, surgery, that will affect it as well. So when it comes to mobility, there are some basic things you can do every single day, even if you're not at the gym. One thing I recommend to everyone, because we sit in a desk chair all the time, most people do, even coaches do, always recommend checking yourself and your posture. I'm really bad about leaning back, putting my feet up in front of me. I actually need to sit up more upright, putting my feet on the floor and keeping my posture, my core tight, chest up. I think it was past Miss Olympian Shanique Grant. She posted about how she wears a waist trainer, but even when she's not wearing a waist trainer, she's always thinking about keeping her core tight. And that actually stuck with me because it's not always about, oh, I want to have six pack, but it's about how can I pull my body upright and give myself the best posture and opening. And that also goes with our energy flow, which obviously I opened this up with just a mantra and some breath work. But even when we're at the gym or we're at home or we're at the office, we're in our car, posture has a direct correlation to our mobility. I'll notice a lot of times I get issues in my neck if I'm texting too much. My husband is terrible at this. He has the worst text neck. And it's literally like if there was an indent right here in his chest his chin fits perfectly there because that's how he always has his head. And that actually messes with our alignment, which messes with our mobility. So, at the end of the day, there's a lot of free resources on YouTube when it comes to mobility. My chiropractor has taught me a lot when it comes to mobility. There's certain stretchers and openers I have to do for my hips every single day to make sure that they're open. And even from sitting in a chair, just making sure my pelvis is in alignment. So there's actually another exercise, if you will, that you can do against a wall, and I'll go ahead and demonstrate it here since I am right next to my wall. You can pretty much, you're going to have your stomach and your chest facing the wall. What you're going to do is having one arm, both arms are going to be above you, and then what you're going to do is take the left arm and you're going to try and raise it backwards, and then you're going to use the right leg and do the same thing. So what you're doing is you're trying to almost push your body into the wall, but staying upright, while also having the opposite leg and hand kind of coming out, which helps our hips, also helps our back and our shoulders. So you're basically going to be starting here. And I just heard that crack. So I'm doing, you usually do like 5 to 10 reps per side, then take a break, and then do it again. You can do it 2 to 3 times usually. So I'm starting here. Whoops, wrong one. This side. And then this side. So it's pretty easy. Kind of a basic stretch mobility practice you can do. But I even use, my lacrosse ball is sitting right next to me. I'll actually sit into this against the wall to open up my glutes, my hip. You can do it for your traps, shoulders. I will put it on the floor and roll my foot and the ball of my foot because I tend to have really tight feet and my arcs are really flat. I actually wear insoles as well. That's another tip for mobility is if you have flat feet, insoles, inserts into your shoes are extremely helpful. Ladies, I know we love heels, but they are not good for our alignment. I just got a pair of Louboutins. I love them, but I already noticed the pains coming up my ankles because it's creating more of that tightness into the ball of the foot through the arc. So, something to keep in mind. All right, so 2 new questions that I just got this morning were number 1 for females. How do you recover a period after coming out of competition? This is something I'm extremely passionate about and I've gone through several times. I think I've done 12 shows now. I've been competing for 5 years. Needless to say, every single show has been different from a PCT post-show recovery plan to get my cycle back. I'm one of those women where my stress threshold is not very high when it comes to my period. So I'm training very intensely, I'm dying very intensely, and then if you add in any type of anabolics into the mix, that's another stressor on the hormone access from our pituitary in the brain down to the ovaries, my period will shut off. And then coming out of the show, it depends on what I was doing during the prep, what I'm going to do coming out of the prep. So blanket statement, it's going to vary. It's bio-individual on what you need. And I always recommend labs, which those of you who haven't seen my lab videos, go check those out. I recommend certain labs, what they mean, why you should get them, why PCT is important. Those videos are all there. So when you're recovering a period, if you're a coach or if you're a female, you need to take into account where were her hormones to begin with. If you didn't run labs to begin with, shame on you. If you put her on something and you didn't know her numbers, shame on you. Then we can get better at this. Coming out of the show, we already know certain systems are going to be suppressed. Thyroid, adrenals, gut could be suppressed, hormones. All 4 of these work hand in hand for our menstrual cycle. So first and foremost, I would taper down the training. I would taper down the cardio a little bit. You don't want to cut it out all the way because then you can have issues with circulation and edema. Definitely don't want to experience that. And then you're going to look at the nutrition. You don't want to shoot it up sky high right away. You definitely want to, there's certain approaches to reverse dieting that I understand everybody's different. I am a big fan of a slow caloric increase. However, if that female has been in a caloric deficit for over 26 weeks, if it's been a 6-month prep, that's going to be really hard on her body to jump right back up. So if it's a client that only did a 10-week prep or an 8-week prep, that's a different story. But you want to titrate calories up slowly and start adding in different micronutrients, different vegetables, different protein sources, things that are going to help the gut. Maybe that's probiotic. When we're looking at stress, that's why we're tapering down the training, tapering down the cardio, increasing food, trying to get that sleep better. A lot of us suffer from poor sleep during prep. This is men and women. So you're looking at your adrenals and that cortisol. Try and reduce your caffeine. If you are on a fat burner stimulant like clenbuterol or another fat burner, that should already be out of the equation, and you're going to need to support those adrenals accordingly. One vitamin that's very helpful, easy access, is vitamin C. Depending on the person, you're going to need to dose it pretty high. And I'm going to say high as in above 3 grams a day. It's going to be above that. And then there's other ways to support those adrenals. You're also going to support the thyroid. So certain micronutrients can help the thyroid. Certain supplements can help the thyroid. If you were on T3, T4, that's going to be another different animal to be dealing with. And then the hormone panel itself, from a general overview of prep, most women will have suppressed progesterone. Most. Now, depending on her panel, where was her testosterone and her estrogen, that's going to depend on, should you consider something like synthetic or HRT route. But to me, that's not the first place to start. The first place to start would be maybe a chastase berry, increasing magnesium and vitamin D, because odds are those are going to be deficient as well, and those affect our hormones. So we're looking at the big picture of everything. So when it comes to recovering that period, patience, tracking those individual markers, knowing if you're getting bloated, if you're getting cramping, if you're moody, depressed, all these things can happen. And some of that is just post-show depression, which I've experienced too, and I've done a post on that. So at the end of the day, this is a lot. I do have my Feminine Health Enhanced course where I went through all this. I went through PEDs. I went through before a prep, during a prep, after a prep, what you do, how you can repair a cycle. So if you're interested, I am selling the replay of that course, which was an 1.5 hour long course, and the full slide deck. So if you're interested, you can message me. But nonetheless, super important to have a period, because if a female's not having a period, number one, you can be preventing muscle building. Number two, there's a risk that you're going to affect her bone density long term, with a risk of osteoporosis in the future. Not worth it. And then there's but if she's on hormonal birth control. If she's on hormonal birth control and she's not having a bleed, it's still not a real period, and you're still going to want to run laps. Period. So, if anyone has additional questions on that, feel free to comment them. But the last question I got was on, can you improve your strength while being in a deficit? Yes, you can. Now, each person's different as far as what I was talking about, that stress threshold, that stress response. I know several men who were in a deficit and their strength maintained, if not increased, through their cut. I know some women who can maintain or increase their strength through a cut. However, some cannot. Now, if this is for a competition prep, most times the female is not going to be able to get much stronger, and it depends on that amount of cardio that she's doing and the amount of calories. Because at the end of the day, we know that we need to recover in order to grow more muscle and be stronger. But there is a difference to me when it comes to growing muscle mass versus getting stronger. I do think you can have muscle hypertrophy in a prep, especially if you're on anabolic substances. But I do not necessarily see a lot of correlation between improving strength as a whole during a cut phase. Now, when it comes to men, we know men naturally produce more testosterone. Then if you add in a testosterone derivative, if they're on TRT, if they're adding in another anabolic, they're probably going to have a lot higher chance of maintaining or increasing their strength while also putting on muscle mass, just from a overall physiological standpoint. So, those were the questions that I got today. Does anyone else have any other questions or things that I brought up in conversation that really stirred you to kind of think a little bit more, you want me to dive deeper on? I really do enjoy getting to talk on here and share some of my experience and expertise. And I have been writing some new training programs. So if anyone's looking for a training program, you don't know where to start, you can reach out to me because I am selling them independently now. I'm not just doing one-on-one coaching, but I also offer 1-hour consults. We can discuss anything you want. So if you have specific labs you want to go through, specific PCT protocol, maybe you're just trying to figure out what division you want to do, I offer that. I offer posing coaching, half-hour sessions if you're bikini, wellness, or figure division. And like I said, I'm just trying to help more people and help spread the education because it seems to be a missing element in fitness today. And I'm not one to sugarcoat things. I want to keep it real, keep it honest, and help women because ultimately that's what we're here to do is support each other, lift each other up. And like I was saying about John in the beginning, I'm here to help carry on what he instilled within me and that legacy and helping more people be successful in their health and fitness and life endeavors. So, Mark, what question do you have on labs? Like I said, I do have some videos on my channel already regarding labs, but do you have a specific question you want me to dissect? Labs is a very broad topic. My legs are so sore from my training. We were talking about hamstrings. My hamstrings are hating me right now. And today, I don't remember if today is the squat day or the deadlift day, but it's probably going to be painful. It's a love-hate relationship with leg day. But we always do it and always train the calves. I'm trying to have big calves like John had. I can go through any labs. For males, the readings are going to be a little bit different than a female in what you are notating. But you do still want to get a general metabolic panel, cholesterol. You want to get your fasted blood glucose. You want to look at your sex hormones. So testosterone, estrogen, progesterone are important for men, even though they, for some reason, some doctors don't run them, which is ignorant. And then prolactin, thyroid is very helpful. It's not as imperative for male as it is for females because most thyroid issues happen in a female. And that's because of the way we manage stress, which is also, here's the kicker, most stress issues in males show up on their EEG and their heart and their cholesterol. So when it comes to men's labs, we can review those. I can review those as well, specifically what you're trying to accomplish. I mean, you want to also look at like your hematocrit's important, especially if you're running PEDs of any kind. What am I forgetting? Insulin. If you're taking your blood glucose every day, that's something you can notate as well. and know if you're getting close to insulin resistance or if you are in a good range. So, did that answer your question a little bit? Okay. So when it comes to cholesterol, most of it can be corrected with diet. If you haven't already started supplementing things, there are a few ingredients that can help with that as well. At the end of the day, most people have cholesterol issues because they have an imbalance from fat sources. Society as a whole is consuming too much saturated fats. It's actually like a 20-to-1 ratio of saturated fats versus our healthier fats. So when we think about healthy, what does that mean? We use, not saturated, omega 6s to omega 3s. We want more omega 3s, like olive oil. Nuts are really high in omega 3s, chia seeds, flax seeds, a lot of the seeds. You can get omegas from fish, sardines, salmon, eggs. So trying to cut out the vegetable oils, soy oil, most of that is in your processed foods. And a lot of times I've seen people improve their cholesterol just from going to meal prepping their own food instead of eating out. No joke. And it just goes to show how society has changed in the way that we look at food and produce food. That's great. Yeah, and it just takes time. So if you continue to go down the route you're going with your nutrition and then you start adding in the training piece, we know at the end of the day that we can have a weight drop or fat loss when we are inducing a energy expenditure higher than what we are taking in. So if your hormones and everything are good to go, that just means you need to reduce your food versus what you're doing as far as activity goes. Some people start with the activity by adding in more cardio. You don't always have to drop the food when you add in more cardio. You start with one and then maybe you go to the other. And you kind of do a stair-step approach to see what your body's going to respond better to. No, I think eggs are healthy. I don't ever claim that eggs are what's causing high cholesterol. You could take them out. And one thing you can check is your CRP to see your inflammatory markers if they're high. A lot of people have issues with eggs because they are a high allergen. I'm one of these people. I literally just tried to eat egg whites from a carton this week for the first time in 2 years. That day, I kid you not, I got this breakout right here. And I'm like, David, they're out. I also got bloated for 2 hours. I couldn't do anything. And it's just crazy. There is a lot of value in eating egg yolks. And that's actually something, when I found out I had my egg intolerance, John and I talked extensively about it. Because I was like, I'm going to run an elimination diet, see how it goes. And he was like, okay. So he kind of helped me figure out what I needed to do. We found out right away it was the eggs. And I was like, John, I just love whole eggs. And he's like, yeah, they're one of my favorites. And even you go onto his page, he's got videos about eggs. He talks about it all the time. And I was like, man. So now that's kind of what instilled a lot of my baking creativity, because a lot of recipes for baked goods require eggs. Part of the reason they're a binder, but they create some of that texture and fluffiness, especially for cakes and muffins and like pancakes, stuff like that. So I actually will replace eggs with making a flax egg. So you use ground flaxseed meal with water, and it's usually a 3-to-1 ratio. So 1 tablespoon of flaxseed to 3 tablespoons of water. You mix it together, you let it sit for 5 minutes, and then you have like an egg. That's what vegans do. But flax is actually extremely healthy, high in our omega 3s and omega 9s, which are a lot less common. You actually hardly get omega 9s from proteins of meats. That's something you can replace them with, like if you're making French toast or you're trying to bake. But yeah, I miss eggs. So that was a little disappointing, still disappointing, but at the end of the day, every single body is different. I know some people who can't tolerate chicken. I actually hit a point usually during prep where I have to switch to turkey 100% because I can't chew the chicken. Like, it nauseates me. It's terrible. And I also am a person that I grew up on a beef farm. I can hardly eat red meat, maybe once a week now. It just doesn't sit well with me. I feel heavy afterwards. It doesn't taste as good. So everything's bio-individual, guys. And that's ultimately why the more you get in tune with your body, I preach this every single time, every single day. The more in tune you can get with your body, the healthier you can become, because you can figure out exactly what works and what doesn't for you. So, yeah, try it out. See what you guys think. And I mean, ultimately, I don't believe there are superfoods. I believe every food has a purpose and has some nutrient value. It's just a matter of what level of value does it have, and does that value assimilate or actually get digested into your body? Because if the food's not agreeing with your body, it's not good for you. It's not your superfood. As in just like protein source, or are you talking about like powdered protein? Because right now I eat mostly turkey, actually. So after Thanksgiving, our store groceries nearby do a lot of turkey breast. So I'll buy turkey breasts, like $3.99 a pound, roast it in my air fryer, and then I have that. I like ground turkey. I do some vegan protein powder. I do some whey protein powder. I do chicken. And then I like to add in whitefish, salmon every once in a while. Try to do it like once a week. At one point, I was doing it every day, but I do find that because of the quality of fish right now, because of the water pollution, is so bad. So bad. So I do that every once in a while. And then what else? Like I said, I do some grass-fed red meat, usually ground beef. I do like venison. Venison's pretty good. Then I feel like I'm forgetting something. That's pretty much it as far as protein sources go. I'm on a low FODMAP diet right now. Otherwise, I would recommend lentils and beans. Both very good complex carb protein sources, especially if you're a vegetarian or vegan. But I like to add it in for more fiber as well. But yeah, you guys have had some really good questions, so I appreciate that. Do you guys like this time of day to do the live? Because I've considered moving it later in the day, but I also figured going through lunch hour, it might be good for some people to participate. So if you guys have a preference, I can definitely try it out. Oatmeal's good, but I don't consider it a protein source. It's only 3 grams per half cup. So there's a lot of other options that are higher in protein. I do like green beans and peas, I believe, are really high in protein for a serving size. As far as Greek yogurt. I just don't eat dairy very often. So Greek yogurt, I do enjoy goat cheese every now and then on like my salads, or I'll do a like ramen noodle bowl with either turkey and chicken, and then I put some goat cheese on top. Gotcha. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out, because some people either go to the gym right after work or they go during lunch. Getting better at a lat spread. Oof. I am not the right person to help you with a lat spread because I don't pose women's physique. But what I can say from my experience when it comes to just opening up your back is focusing on a stretch. So if you think about when you are going to the gym, you want to do a lat pull down. When you're going through the pull down and you're really driving your lats down, your elbows get down, you're going to let them stretch back up to open that back. So instead of doing it from top to bottom, when you're doing a lat spread, you're going to think about opening up out through your shoulders. So that's kind of where I think about opening up. You're pushing your shoulders up, your chest up, and it's opening outward. So I always, my opposing clients, I tell them for figure to, they're always rolling their shoulders forward, and you're almost want to guide your elbows forward. I try and think of like your arm as like a chicken wing. So you don't ever want to have your arms too stiff, but you want them to still be engaged in the movement. Nice. I can't say that I missed school. So always working at this rate, but that's okay. But if anyone has any other questions, I'll take one more. I am going to get ready for the gym myself. And then today we're going to look at our home and get some stuff for our house. I'm moving out of this apartment, which we've been here for like 4 years. So super excited for that. But I really appreciate you all tuning in, and keep up the hard work and focusing on bettering yourself 1% every day. That's all we can do, and acknowledging those successes and small wins that you make every single day. So thank y'all for tuning in, and make it a great one.